Hello and welcome to this 16 by 16 cheer box tutorial. This is how I built the boxes for my two daughters. Feel free to change things, do whatever you like. I also suggest strongly that you watch this video all the way through before you commit. I used 1/2 inch plywood, and I made sure that I used the good side, the more smoother side, for the outside facing of these boxes. Depending on how many boxes you're making, you will only need one sheet per box. You will also need one 8-foot stick, 1 by 3/8 by 1 by 3/8. Upon acquiring this amount of wood, you will be ready to cut. You will need to cut 3 plates 16 by 16 on your table saw or your circular saw. Your next cuts will be 15 1/8 inch by 16 inch. You'll need 2 plates this size. Next, cut yourself a support plate, 11 7/8 inches by 14 7/8 inches. This is a support plate, and it will strengthen the box's lid for any stomping or jumping around that may be done by your cheerleader. At this time, be sure to choose the best 16 by 16 plate you have for your top lid. And then you will, of course, add later this support lid underneath that. We'll show you how. Okay, you're going to cut your support legs at 16 inches. You'll need 4 of these. And then we'll apply those as they're supposed to be applied. Alright, this is our hardware. We're using stainless steel machine screws, round head Phillips, and flat head Phillips. The flathead Phillips will hold your hinges on. The round head Phillips will be holding on your handles. You may change this hardware if you like. I prefer what I have here. You're also going to want to get yourself some wood glue, some Bondo auto filler, and a box of screws that you see here. Okay, we're ready for assembly. You're going to want to get your two 15 1/8 inch by 16 inch plates. Make sure you're using the dirty side for the glue side. With your 16 inch legs, you will notice that you have a flat and a round side. Put the glue on the flat side of these legs. Lay them down on the 16 inch side of the plates. You'll have 4 legs and 2 sides of each plate. The glue is going to squirt out a little bit. Make sure it sits flush to the edge. Clamp it on and then screw. I put my screws 1 inch in from the ends, and then found center, and then found center again, giving me a total of 5. As I said, once I was done, I used a wet paper towel and wiped everything nice and clean. Once I'd done that, I was ready to assemble the next phase of the box. You should have 2 of these plates looking much like this, nice and flush and ready for your next siding. You're going to get your next best 16 inch by 16 inch plates, making sure that your good side of your plate is facing out. Glue and clamp, as you can see here. You'll end up with a 16 by 16 box. Make sure it sits square and let it dry. Once it has dried, we'll move on to the next assembly. What you see here is the bottom of the box. You'll have all 4 sides assembled by now. It's just easier to show you it this way with the Post-it. Take your measurements that I have here. You're going to apply all the way around all 4 sides these numbers. And then, I did it with a Sharpie. And then after that, you can paint, and you'll still see the numbers there later on, so you can set the strip and the net inside. And this is what your finished 16 by 16 box should look like. Square and dry. Okay, we're going to put the lid on this thing. Be sure to pick your best facing side for your crowd side of your box, and make sure that you have the best 16 by 16 plate with the good side facing out for the top. You're going to want to decide which way you want your hinge to open at this point. As you can see here, what we're trying to do is create, with the support lid and with the 16 by 16 lid, that we cross hatch the grain. One goes one way, one's going to go the other way, and that'll give you some really strong lid. Okay, so now you're going to determine how you want your lid to open. I liked mine to open from the front to the back, meaning the facing side that goes to the crowd is the front of the box, therefore the lid opens from the front and swings backwards. Okay, what you're looking at here is the back of the box. We have marked out where the support post is, and now we've set the hinge and made sure the hinge will flap all the way flush to itself on the back of the box. And then set the screw into the support post, and you'll have two more holes that you can drill pilot holes to, and make sure that those holes are the size of what the machine screws are that we're going to use. Use the flat Phillips machine screws on these two remaining holes. I set my hinge pins facing each other. It's just the way I do it. So once you've got through setting both of these like you see here, you're then going to go and pilot hole. As you can see here, the hinges flap inside, flush and flat. That's where your lid's going to go to, and we'll discuss that next. Okay, so now that we've pre-drilled our holes, we're going to use the flat-headed machine screws, the Phillips flatheads, and we'll push them through. We're going to use lock washers and fenders, and we're just going to use regular nuts on this. I tightened them up pretty tight and used Loctite. So what we're looking at here is going to be what you're going to mark all the way around the inside of the box. This is going to be the net fastener. You're going to take some scrap 1/2-inch plywood, and you're going to cut to this dimension for straps as you see here, and place them as you see here with these measurements. Take note, you will not be placing these straps now, but at the end of the project when you set the net. So for now, mark it and then paint over it so that you can still see it. So what you see here now is I've taken the best part of my 16 by 16 plate, my very best one, and I've put it face down on the table. I've now set the box on top of that plate, and I'm marking where the hinges are on that plate so everybody looks nice and flush on the sides. Then I can flip it over and actually screw this lid on. I then go ahead and make sure that my marks are correct, and I set one screw on each hinge so that it stays in place. Again, we will pilot hole with the same drill we used before, and then we will push through our flathead Phillips machine screws. This time I'm using lock washers, smaller washer, and I'm using waxy nuts, which are actually like a lock nut, and they hold things on nice and tight, and you don't need the Loctite. This is also due to clearance issues. As you can see here, I've had to cut away a little bit of waxy and made sure that my nuts were aligned so that when they all set together, they didn't bang into each other. A 3/8 wrench will help you tighten everything up nice and easy. Now set your box upside down on some risers, just some scrap wood. That way you can do the work from the inside of the box and not damage your table and or get stuck to your work surface. Now we're looking at the inside of the box and the bottom of the top of the lid. It's up on risers, and we've applied lots of glue. We have already pre-fit the support lid so we know that it fits in here cross-checked like we discussed earlier. We've also made sure that it fits just loosely in between the support bars, meaning the legs. Place your pre-fit support lid as shown. Be sure not to let it touch the support legs and that you have a touch of gap in between each one and it's centered. Screw down the lid with evenly spaced screws and use a cutoff wheel to take care of the excess screw. These are the fender washers, nuts, and screws that I used for this project. This is the top of the box after we've removed the screws. We are now placing more screws through to the bottom so that we have screws from the top and the bottom holding that support plate in place. Take your Makita and make sure that you've cut off all sharp protruding screws from the top and the underneath of the lid. Now mark center on the box. As you can see here, should be 8 and 8 makes center of 16. 2 inches in should be where your support plate is. Right at the edge of the support plate and that 8 inches is where you're going to drill your hole. To do this, I used a doorknob hole punch. I started at the bottom and I drilled in first my pilot hole and took just a nudge out of the inside support plate so that I knew where it was. As you can see here, I didn't drill all the way through, I only went through the support plate. Now close your lid, find the hole on the top, and drill from the top down. This will ensure that your 2 holes meet and everything comes out nice and even. Be sure your drill punches all the way through and clean. You may now take some sandpaper and with your finger run it through the holes so that that is nice and soft and nobody's getting a splinter. You are now ready to paint the interior of the box. Paint everything at least 2 coats so that you don't have to go back. Now you can remark the inside of your box for the net strap. As you can see, it's 2.5 inches off the bottom. And then you'll place your strap there with your net, as I will show you. What I used for my net is old trampoline safety net. I folded it in half and then I made sure I had at least 2 inches worth of overhang around the whole box. If you like, you can use some gardening net, sunshade, green net. There are many different styles of net that you can use, but I found this trampoline net to be most durable when it was doubled. It's very similar, though, to the gardening net, the green sunshade net. So after leaving some excess, I placed one strap, and then I went across from it, and I placed the other strap nice and tight, stretched it, and then I placed the third, and then I placed the fourth. Now we have a nice square net that we can staple in place also and cut off. You can use an X-Acto if you like. I used a straight edge. I then used a staple gun and stapled the excess around the posts. When I was done stapling, I then hammered it in tight and then cut nice and straight so that everybody looked flush. This will be your finished net from the bottom. That's the lid hole there. That's not a hole in the net. Use your Makita and cut off the excess screws sticking out of the sides of the box. And this is what your finished interior would look like. As you can see here, it's holding a water bottle fully suspended. And now we're ready for the Bondo. Depending on how much hardener you use is how fast your Bondo will go off. I try to use about this proportion here. Gives you a fast enough mix and also allows you to spread, and then it dries fast enough that you can come almost right back at it and sand it. After belt sanding all the way around the box, I then applied the Bondo to anything that needed to be filled. Then again, after that was done and dried, I belt sanded it again to come up with the smooth surface that I could then paint. I found a few times that I had to actually put a little more Bondo on and then resand again, but in the end, it's really what you're after. This box is now sanded and painted and ready for the artwork. So the way I do my process for artwork, I use a clear coat at the end of it all, so I wasn't too concerned about anything more than flat white paint. And this is gel glitter, a white paint pen, a black paint pen, silver paint pen, one thin gauge brush, and a black Sharpie. I start off with a pencil drawing. I used a grid only because my daughter wanted to have the effect that she was after. This is a stencil that I used that allowed me to apply the roses in many different directions and however many leaves I wanted. This here is a combination of freehand and stencil. Again, it's all pencil and it's on flat paint, flat white paint. This would be the top of their school's logo. This is a hand-drawn, basically pulled off of a sticker that I had, and I just went ahead and redrew it so that I could have it bigger on the box. This will be the face of the box with her name and her graduation date and some more roses. So here we started coloring in with the glitter paint and basically the paintbrush. I used the tube glitter and squirted it on and then pushed it out to the line edges that I needed it at, and then let it dry. When it dries, it shrinks and flattens out. So if you haven't figured it out yet, what she was after was a racing flag with roses. So I masked off the grid and I painted all the black. It was a lot easier this way, and then go back and do touch-up. I let it dry and I did a little more touch-up here and there, just freehand to make all the squares happen. So in the end, what we get is what you'll see here a little bit later. And this would be one finished side of the box, and the other side of the box is identical. I pretty much built them both the same. That was fun to try to make them exact. You can also see here that I've drilled my holes for my handles. I used big washers for support on the back, and then I used waxy nuts to tighten it up. Simply place the handles about 2 inches down and in the center of the box. Drill your pilot holes first and then attach after you drill. One small word of warning, because it is flat white paint, it will smudge and get dirty while you're working on things. So once you're all done with your project, be sure to mask it off, and then all you have to do is unmask and do a little bit of edge white painting to make everything nice and fresh. And then you're just ready for clear coat. So again, this is some flat maroon on the Sage 2023 and the glitter that has been dried and it's flattened itself out. I used a silver pen to do the leaf work. That made it a lot easier. The top of the box has been done with gray maroon flat paint and a silver pen to outline, and then glitter for the outline around the black of the ring. Take your time and let things dry. You'll be much happier. Clear coat was done using a case of spray enamel. Be sure to use more on the top than you do on anything else. Be sure your glitter is good and dry before you mask. This paw was done with gray pen and then some glitter for toenail polish. This box is a box I built in 2016 for my other daughter. Went through 4 seasons. Only had to clear coat a little bit over the top halfway through the season, sanded it, re-clear coated it, made it nice and wet, left it in the garage so it could get hot, and then cooled it off in the house. The more clear coat you use, the more 3D and thick it'll look and appear. That's actually a pretty neat look. This will be the finished face of the 2023 box. You're now ready to put in your handles and put your magnets on the inside of the box at the front of the lid. One on each side, left and right. set them accordingly, and then they should just easily magnet the box closed but still be easy to open. And this concludes our video. I hope I was helpful and informative for you. Thanks for watching. Good luck. So you stuck around for the Easter egg. Alright, well, this is what 18 boxes look like when it's all in parts. Be sure when you go to your parts store for your hardware that they have everything you need and that you've bought it all. I had to go hunt around to make sure these boxes got done on time. They're quite daunting. As you can see, 18 boxes takes up a lot of work. There's sanding, there's Bondo work, there's painting, there's assembly. Any help you can get, take it. That would be your best idea. I hope everything goes well for you, and that's that. Have fun. Bye.